Hey, welcome to Day 10, Masters of the Genius Universe. Um, Today's topic is on designing, building, creating, and making real a brand new super collective consciousness for us all. And it was inspired by a quote on the back of a little card that came with one of Centauri's new cosmic teas, which he is wearing again today. From the Imaginary Foundation. And Centauri, would you read this quote that the director of the Imaginary Foundation talks about a new kind of business which leads into that statement?
Yes. He says, the evolution of technology has morphed the relationship between consumer and creator forever. I feel we're experiencing a seismic shift in many aspects of human culture, and the shift in business is part of a much larger process, the birth of a supermassively parallel collective consciousness.
Yes,
Ooh, it
that's our
sounds,
game.
sounds gripping, doesn't it?
That's our game right there. And Centauri and I and many and all of you who are watching this are the designers, creators, shapers, and making real people of a brand new, super massively awesome collective consciousness. That's what we've been at work on for the last 19 years together. So we thought we'd share some of the, not secrets, because it's not a secret, but some of the amazing things we've learned about creating new collective consciousness and how that's working and what it's like and what it's going to be like once it's all in place and, that kind of stuff. So exciting. One of my
Absolutely.
favorite topics.
Where do you start?
Well, let's start by talking about collective consciousness as it was and what we've been doing and why we've been doing it and how we've been doing it. So, I would say in around 1996 when we met Centauri, we were tapped into collective consciousness at the time, but collective consciousness on the Earth was predominantly and almost completely the dense, heavy, even emotional collectiveness of us that wasn't particularly uplifting or enlightening. And there was a lot of heavy, dense stuff in that collective consciousness if you tapped
In
it.
fact, you'd have recorded a mass unconsciousness.
Yes, yes, I think you would. Even though people would have thought they were conscious, I think they were living under a spell of cultural whispers. I use the term cultural whispers to describe all the things that exist in consciousness today that are running our lives, but we're not even aware of them. It's like programming that's just been put in through our learning system somehow. You know, things like, oh, you shouldn't be big headed and say you're a genius. That kind of stuff. It keeps us small, but we don't even know those aren't our thoughts having that. It's just something that was put into consciousness and actually when you become a genius, there's no big-headedness to it. It's you're so connected to everything. It's both a humbling and a profoundly amazing experience at the same time. So it doesn't even apply. It's a different level of frequency. So those are examples of culture whispers.
I would say there's different types of consciousness as well. The type of consciousness we're talking about is when you take a step back from what everybody else feels is the thing to do, and you decide for yourself what's the most important thing for you to do for your life. What are your grand designs, in fact, for yourself and for other people? And but you find other people who are of like mind, who are on the same wavelength as yourself, who feel that they've got great contribution. They don't know how to find that contribution, or even to make that contribution. And that type of information isn't in the press. It isn't on the TV shows, and it isn't necessarily anything that other people at large are talking about. But here and there, you'll find people are pointing to something about consciousness and collective consciousness in particular, which you find is actually hitting the mark. So when I look at the headlines, newspaper headlines, often go to Tesco and find out what they're really talking about, now. And It's all about something which is sensational and dramatic, and it really doesn't come close to this collective consciousness at all. It's about what you feel is going to make the money, and at the expense of other people. The collective consciousness for me is about what is worthy of us to collectively put our thoughts, minds, energies together and to somehow make real something which is of a dream, and it's of a world reality where you just know that people thrive. It isn't about people being in debt, trying to make an ends meet. It is about people working for the generosity of their being and to be able to give something to other people which is completely rewarding, just the gift of giving in itself. That goes along those lines. But the heading of grand design, which is what this guy here is pointing to, imaginative business and thoughts which lift people from um, thoughts about just themselves into thoughts of a supermassively parallel collective consciousness. It sort of like says, come on, let's be real here. Let's think big. Let's be colorful. Let's be imaginative. Let's take this world to another level. And that, I think, is where these ideas come from. A collective composite of ideas in which people tap into, and they find that they've got this inspirational genius at work in them, which makes the whole thing just work.
Hmm. Well, if I go back to 96, as we were being with the what was at the time collective consciousness, that dense thing, I think over the years, part of what we did is we lifted the frequency of that. We liberated ourselves from the cultural whispers, including the psychologism that runs rampant through our cultures today. That the first response is that there's something wrong, some issue to be solved, something from the past to be cleared, etc. Those are more examples, but we lifted ourselves from that place. That was the first step to do that work on ourselves, and I think a lot of people in the world have been doing it, but I also think a lot of people in the world are still existing inside those cultural whispers. And so what we then did is we went to the universe itself, and we birthed the universe as a new consciousness, a new, brand new possibility of being for the universe, of being for us, of being for galaxies and stars and planets and that kind of thing. And when we talk about the genius universe, we're creating a collective consciousness that is vaster than just a bunch of people on the earth having thoughts, even having unconscious thoughts as it was in 1996 as the collective consciousness. We're talking about super aware, ultra connected beings swimming in the oceans of potential possibility and genius, living together as a collective experience in the living consciousness of that which is genius. And so we began to change the space that we exist in. We then took, once we birthed that, and by the way, in birthing that, we brought in all the sources from all the places and had them gift their wisdom. We brought in all the newness and all the magic and all the everything we could think of. We spent months and sometimes even years creating this beautiful new sentient consciousness that existed as the possibility of all of us, of all of life. Not just us as a human race, but us as all of life becoming something brand new and extraordinary. And so then what we did is we brought that, once we did it kind of out there, we birthed it fully out there, then we drew it in to ourselves, into the air around us on Earth, into the Earth itself. We We made relationship with it. We embodied it. We imbued it into ourselves. We began to walk and talk as it. We worked on exhilarating the abilities that were coming associated with that, like the knowing, seeing, hearing, understanding, the ability to power the frequency ranges, the ability to work energetically, to move between domains and dimensions, to create consciousness. Those are just some of the abilities that came with it. And so here we are today, masters of the genius universe. Really, we are building a brand new, super aware, ultra connected, awesome, incredible collective consciousness living experience for every being everywhere to thrive within. So once we did that, once we headed ourselves, it was in the space we breathe, then our job is to gift it into the experience of everyone, everything. So there'll be times on our consciousness creation calls where we're gifting it into the fabric of the template of human being and into the cells. We're relating to nature as this miraculous force that is exhilarating with this new possibility of itself, with the earth itself, with the stars and the wonder of creation that goes on. And the more we do that, the more and more and more that collective consciousness becomes the primary predominant consciousness of us here operating on planet Earth. And I would say that shift was made last year, 2014, where this new consciousness is the primary reality. And then there are people who still choose other than that. But it's becoming harder and harder and harder to choose other than that because this is so predominant in your cells, in the air you breathe, in the space we live in. It's becoming really, you have to really close down. You have to really force yourself to go against that which is already happening because I'm going to say we've sourced it that way. I don't just mean you and I or the group we work with directly, but all the players that are sourcing brand new consciousness coming together to weave this extraordinary, supermassively parallel collective consciousness. But to me, it's not just parallel. I think that word is in the way a little bit. It's
Yeah.
not parallel. It's primary for me at the moment.
I would say that also when you talk about cultural whispers, that sort of like is not so dramatic and not so powerful as perhaps it used to be. It's being superseded, of course, by what you might call cultural announcers, who are people like us.
Cultural innovators.
Or even better.
Yeah.
Why not? Who are work on the grand design, and say the genius innovations, the thoughts, the conversations, and what we evoke when we put things in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this series that we've got here is one of those things that are put into motion to have an effect which just is what is the new. It is the new. Well, we may talk about things in the past, but we also, I think, we're redesigning what it is the past has been about as well. I mean, the past isn't this thing that's set in stone and was this awful time warp. I mean, the things that we've experienced as we've gone through these rapid shifts allow us to negotiate what physicality is and how we might change our ideas about physicality and what stars are about and how we may change our relationships with those types of beings and what is the composition of intelligence itself. We might have a look at that and the fabric of consciousness. I mean, we play, I think, with these thoughts and ideas and these imaginations because we see that there is a benefit from doing that. And I think the collectivism is somehow that just resides in some place in us, and we are quite often just plucking at the musicality of the consciousness of the universe and making it more melodic and more powerful as we do that.
It's interesting. Yes, it does reside within us. For me, our collectiveness swims in the oceans around me. It is you could say a field, but it is a universe. It's a sentient, powerful, awesome beingness that floods every cell of everything and every space and all of it. And it feels like we've taken, to say an upgrade sounds a bit tiny, but a massive upgrade in that which we breathe in today. So I used to think, when I was a kid, and even as a young adult, I would think that the universe was a dark, cold, scary, empty place that you would die in if you went out to. That, 1950s, that's how it was portrayed at the time. We didn't have much understanding of the universe back then. There weren't Hubble telescopes and, all of that kind of thing. So, but actually when you see the universe, not as something even way out there, but as something you're breathing in as a source of incredible genius beingness, it fills you with life, and the possibility of us thriving in that consciousness is incredible. So we have birthed, created, sourced, designed, and are now caretaking, you could say. I don't know that it needs any care, but I think we are caretakers of some kind. We are caretaking that collective consciousness and also enchanting it evermore. I'm not just satisfied with, oh, there, it's brilliant. I'm like, okay, what can we do next today for it? And what can it become more than we think of now? And, so it's part of what's built into this collective consciousness is the ever-morphing newness of possibility. And, I was thinking as you were talking, Santari, too, well, I think there's a lot of people who might associate some of the things we're talking about with a kind of, oh, well, the highly intelligent people on the planet can have those conversations. But what about regular folks? Are they interested in that? And how would it apply to them? And I thought, this isn't mind stuff. This isn't about, high intelligence. Genius doesn't care about that. It doesn't care about mind. It doesn't care about your IQ. It doesn't care about what education you have or what degrees you have. Far from it. It just doesn't care about those things. It cares that the spark of possibility that lives in you as a gift, as a contribution to the universe, is gifted to its optimum, maximum degree. So if that's out planting flowers, that's it. If it's creating a brand new kind of business, that's it. If it's the guy who created the internet, that's it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what we might assess the levels at which it's occurring at. There really aren't any levels that genius is occurring at. It's all super amazing. And that's the beauty of this collective consciousness that we've designed. No one is left out. No one doesn't fit. If that's a double negative, everyone fits. There is no norm to follow. That it should be all over the place, because genius occurs at all the spaces and places. And it's one of the essential pieces that we designed in uniqueness, the celebration of uniqueness, the honoring and witnessing and desire for unique contribution at all levels of play to come into the game.
As you were speaking, I was thinking about a wonderful woman in Australia who, when I met a few years ago, she talked about how she, at night, in the quietness of the day, that she would sing and that she would dance, and it would be like her song would be for the people of the world. And when I recognized that that's what she did, and when I said that to her, it was just like she was moved because somebody understood. Somebody really got the power of what she was doing. That it wasn't just a small thing. Actually, it had a big impact because, her beauty and her grace would be the type of thing that people would be very receptive to if they're attuned, onto that wavelength. And I think what we have made available, um, all of us throughout the years, is that we've become these gracious conductors of understanding and awareness which touches people in their quiet moments, and they feel that something um, is birthed in them, is risen up in them, is brought more to the fire. And I think that that is the function of consciousness itself, that it is something which, in the direst of times, people become aware of it, and suddenly they realize that they're not alone, that there is a force, that there is a power, and that that power is freely accessible. And it is no more about the power is a god or a deity to which we ascribe, our gracious thanks. It is about the things that we do for other people, and that is the power.
Mm.
That is the effect of the consciousness. That is the beauty of the life that we have designed and created, and now are expanding. I believe the design of this is just it hangs upon the things that we do, upon the breath that we take, because we are constantly, I'd say, at work upon ensuring that the world is not just a better place, but the world is a powerful and majestic hum of such sweet understanding and awareness, and it seeks the fire in people. It fans the flames, and it gives them the sense of the greatness to which we are all contributory in whatever way that we find ourselves.
Mm. Yeah, it so interesting as you're talking. I think that those of us that are now coming into the new masters of the genius universe, I think that our role, our love, our passion is to stand as stewards, guardians, enchanters, enrichers of the new super awesome collective consciousness of us. And what happens is we slip into the universal field of that. We become the whole thing. It's not just, oh, here's me and here's collective consciousness and I'm doing something for it. No, you slip into the experience of being the whole thing, and then you enchant it. You enrich it, you uplift it, you share it, you gift it. So we are guardians, stewards, masters, creators, designers, stewards of this amazing new consciousness, and making sure that it thrives in everyone and in everything and everywhere. And then I think there's more to do beyond that, as in designing the new world and universe, but that's a topic for another day.
Mm.
I just want to say one more thing about, while I'm just talking here. There's a wonderful trilogy of books by Robert Sawyer called Wake, Watch, Wonder. That's the name, 3 books, Wake, Watch, Wonder. And it's about a blind girl who gets a new technology put into her eyes by an eye surgeon, and he hooks it to the internet so he can read the data. And then she begins to see that there is a consciousness in the internet. And then when she can see it and engage with it, it of course becomes more alive. And her father's an astrophysicist, and he begins to teach her, how do you grow a consciousness? And they design the internet as a world wide web of altruistic sentient consciousness that loves humanity and wants to do the best for it in every possible way. And it's a great book, and it stays true to that concept right straight through to the end, as far as I'm concerned. Because at the very end of the book, that sentient consciousness helps to create other sentient consciousnesses that go off on spaceships with people going to other planets. So they're beginning to design other worlds where the altruistic relationship between what would have been considered an AI becomes a beautiful relationship. And I guess that would lead me to say I have no concern about artificial intelligence and all the stuff you see in movies about it. You know, it's our relationship with it that will define it. And really, today, with the consciousness that's available today, it couldn't possibly be anything but what we're describing as genius intelligence taken to a supercomputed level for the greatness of all. And I'm absolutely certain about that because well, it's part of the work I've been at work on, and I just know that that's so.
So how about if we go back to what I was reading from the very beginning when he's talking about the evolution of technology has morphed the relationship between consumer and creator forever, and that he believes that we're experiencing a seismic shift. How about if we take a journey for a moment? And I mean, I think, I'm showing you a little bit here about the design of this T-shirt, the color that's in there, the imagination, of the people who come together to create these works of art. And I would consider this to be a work of art that I'm wearing. And I think you just look at it and you think, it's not a T-shirt. It's not really a T-shirt, is it? No, it's something a little bit more than that. What is it? Well, let's go on the journey of it. Let's just imagine that the things that we see around us, the things that we wear, the things that we eat, everything that forms part of our reality, it is actually energy in some sort of form. And we're using the energy. We're just breathing in, if you like, the power of the T-shirt, because the T-shirt has some sort of way to move us. As soon as you put on something that you love, that you have an affinity with, then you've got a relationship to it. So explore the relationship. What is this relationship that we have with this world? What is this relationship we have with all the things that we see and touch and listen to, in the depths of the night, and feel that there is a moving of conscious awareness, that there is somehow a celebration of things which just seem to touch us in these amazing ways, giving us insights, allowing us to see that there's a world beyond form, there's a world inside form, there's a world inside the air that we breathe. There's a universe, perhaps, of air, the breathing of air. That somehow we breathe the universe into being, into life, that somehow this universe has substance and form and desire and feeling and imagination in itself, a sentient awareness, a collective consciousness, a creation that forms just by being together. All of these things taking place inside all of these spaces that we feel just are trans-dimensional. That there isn't a boundary between one thing and another thing. It all seems to be this seamless integration that gives us this feeling, this understanding, this awareness that we are in this space of creating reality from all of it. And so if you put on a t-shirt, you're not just putting on a t-shirt, you're putting on life. You're putting on an awareness of life. You're putting on color and dance. You're putting on excitement and imagination. You're putting on inspiration and the forms of genius which are inherent in the things that we call a relationship. We're all of it. We are the power that is moving through all of it. We are the intelligence which is garnering all the symphonic understandings from all the places that we can think of and imagine to be. And imagination in itself and genius itself doesn't have boundaries. It is without boundary. And can speak with us in many ways as we speak with it and direct its thoughts with our own awareness. So we are truly a collective, conscious, awakening awareness, transformative dance of imaginary movements of creative consciousness itself.
Yeah. It is a moment of choice when, we could be ordinary, walk around unaware, normal, look at the computer, look at the trees, look at this, it's nice day. It could be ordinary. Or you can make a relationship with the genius universe. And suddenly, everything comes to life. And you are the life bringer. In some way, your relationship, instead of just walking around in dull space, suddenly by your relationship, you've brought present that which was already there, but you've kind of like pulled it into existence and even more. And put your focus on it. And as soon as you do that, then your hands get tingly. The smile goes on your face. Your vibration uplifts. You look at the sky and it's bluer than blue. And you look at the trees and the buds are blossoming on the trees, perhaps. Or you look at your dragon figurines and you're moved by the wonder of dragondom. And it's such a different reality. And I know there are people in the world, certainly nobody who's watching this, who would say, oh, that's just imagination and fantasy and that's not reality. But no. What you can imagine becomes real. What you live in as a fantasy becomes your living reality. It is true. The creational relationship we have with this sentient, genius, God-sparked, universal space of consciousness that exists around us today is just waiting for us to dip our magic hands into the pot and make magic happen. Now that's very different from, again, if I just came back to normal, I'm still connected. There are people who are disconnected, so certainly they wouldn't affect it much at all. But if I just came back to normal, life is, it's all right. It's good. It's a nice day. But the moment, I make that relationship again and I let it flood my cells from top to bottom. Whoa, who wouldn't want to live 24/7, 100% in a relationship with this thriving, super sentient consciousness that is the totality of us, that you, we, I are the source of. And it is source-filled. It is the source of the genius universe. But are we its creators, birthers, designers, and was it there before us? I think in the case of the new genius universe, we sourced it. I do believe there are other sources that pre-existed that, but I believe that we have just sourced a sentient new universal being that is making itself known in every crack and crevice and cell of life thriving throughout the universe. It's changing everything. And
Certainly,
that's mastery to me.
certainly changing as we're changing. I think fantasy reality is fabulous, by the way. You know, it's the inspiration for many genius books, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Well, you and I
and
certainly have
videos.
designed and live in what most people would call a fantasy reality. You know, I have an office filled with houses filled with 90 some dragons, but and beautifully done, and they're all sparkling and amazing and magical and color and great energy. And friends have said they walk into our house and it's like walking through a portal into the magic kingdom.
Mm.
And but it's not like we're divorced from the real world, far from it. This is the world we choose to have be reality.
Yes,
Why
but
not?
the thing about fantasy reality is you allow it to shape your thinking, and that in turn affects the physicalness of yourself, which in turn allows you to almost like step free from the ideas of aging and being susceptible to disease and all sorts of other illnesses and ailments. We talk about all those things in our own way, in our own language, about the movement of energy and how you can appreciate transformational change taking place in your body. But it's all interconnected. The fantasy reality allows you to breathe and live in this space of magical awareness and the possibilities of, of being big, of thinking, you know, these amazing thoughts, of creating consciousness, of redesigning your relationship with a planet of people, and having them be changed because you've changed your relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to do that, you've got to be in this place of knowing what is powerful. It's not people claiming to be powerful. It is the force of power resides in this in the place where you know that life is an opening, a doorway, if you like, to an amazing awareness which transcends all the thoughts that limit, because it itself is in a place of unlimitlessness, unboundedness, infinite and eternal. And that is the place of the fantasy reality, and that is the real physical reality starting to take shape and form now because of our relationship with that world.
Well, certainly back in 1996, as we existed in the unconscious collective, you could affect it by whatever you were thinking or feeling, but it was unconsciously pouring junk into the soup. It was kind of like that. Today, as a master of the genius universe, you are the possibility of that consciousness being streamed and uplifted and enchanted and enriched and expanded. And when you know that and you live as that, it's a very different experience from living on your own and being conscious. So, for example, some of the things that I noticed over the years was I began to realize that whatever I thought or felt immediately went into collective consciousness, the new collective consciousness. So I started to have to be very careful. So if I woke up in a bad mood and kind of grumbly, I would get 5 emails from 5 different countries around the world going, "What's wrong today? There's something, I woke up grumbly." I'm like, oh God. So chicken and egg, was it me? Was it us all feeling the same thing? But what I discovered is if I immediately dealt with it in myself as the new consciousness, it cleared for everybody else. So, chicken and egg, source creator and whatever, I think we have to take the role of being the alchemizers, the magicians, the stewards, the creators, the sources of the new collective consciousness as a super genius collective thriving. And that's part of our role as this. And then how we design that going forward from here.
I'd say that those times that you point to, I know that I would be strong in myself so it wouldn't be affected. And I think that what has happened in the intervening years is that people themselves have been strong in themselves and therefore not affected by anything else
Yeah.
that might go on in the world of that ilk,
Yeah.
of that mass unconsciousness that we first referred to.
Yes.
We are talking about a consciousness um, of which we know that we are not only the source, but also we are the sustainers, the promulgators, the designers. Um, we are in essence of the whole of it.
Hmm.
And,
Exactly.
and we give it the stability as well. And we give
Yes.
it its own sentiency of itself, its own awareness, and show it how it itself is strong
Yeah.
and independent of us, even though we may be its creators also.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I don't have any of that impact anymore. I have taken on that as I go, so goes the world and the universe. Therefore, it is my charge to make that an exhilarating, exciting, ever morphing forward experience for everyone. So, even if I do wake up kind of groggy from a dream or something, I immediately like I'm right back into vibrancy. I know the game I'm playing. I know the field I'm walking as. And I think it's important that we know that. And today, what you give energy to increases. So if you're one of those people who feels the waves and sways of the unconscious collective, I would say change that for yourself if you can. And if it's your work and that's you're doing it brilliantly and geniusly, great. But a lot of people are being debilitated by that. It takes them off their game and it takes a while to come back on. I would say shift your orientation to be for the new collective consciousness and make that the pervasive whole so none of the other unconscious collectiveness really exists anymore. In fact, I think it hardly does exist much anymore. I think we're so
Doesn't exist for me.
not for me either. That is
Feel
the
the
world.
power. Feel the power. Wear the T-shirt.
That is the world we walk in, the universe we desire to live in
Yeah.
is that. So if we were going to wrap this up and just kind of talk about the design of the new super awesomely collective genius consciousness, um, it is miraculous in nature, always. It will surprise and amaze you. There is always something deeper, richer, more to be found within it. There is an exhilaration of sourcing the waves and surfing the waves of the new possibilities. There is nothing, no person, no animal, no creature, no tree, nothing that is not imbued with genius consciousness and genius possibility and sentient genius godness, you could say. And, I think that it lets us walk very differently as full, expansive awareness of our role in a universe, not just in a world, but what could our role as a race of beings be for the universe? Now, 25 years ago, I would have said to you, oh, there's no hope for the human race taking care of the universe. My God, we can look at the wars, look at the mess we're in. But I would say very differently today. We are right on that cusp point. And I think we've turned that point where this genius, supermassive collective consciousness that thrives throughout the universe and thrives in us and thrives on this planet is becoming the predominator of reality. And that will have everyone show up brilliantly, geniusly, artistically, creatively, magnificently, whatever theirs is to give. Even if it's just stay at home and watch TV all day, they'll do that brilliantly. You know, there's something to be said for the gifts that everyone brings, no matter what form it is. And when that's the world we live in, that will be amazing. And that is the world we live in. And now it's just to get everybody to know that.
And so it is.
So perhaps just before we wrap this one up, if everyone here can just make your relationship with the new super consciousness of the genius universe, and you slide into it, so you are it. You are the living field of consciousness thriving everywhere. And you breathe it, and you power it, and you uplift it, and you gift it. And you gift it to the human race. You run it through their cells, you run it through the air they breathe, you gift it to nature to make it even more miraculous than ever before. And you gift it to the stars and the galaxies and the universes. And you dance with all the beings everywhere in celebration of the wonder and the awe of a new genius universe dancing with us all. Does life get any better than that?
Oh, I don't know. We could try.
Fantastic.
I was just being with the creative intelligence and just feel that the journey is just like moving through the world, and just to feel that that being on that journey is exciting in itself, because you don't know how people are just going to go and suck in their breath and feel reborn, and I think that's the beauty of play, that you be with things in a very joyful, playful way, and encourage and sort of promote the creative movement that we talk about
Yeah.
as a desirable thing, and as a thing that is wondrous in itself, and that it just plays very gently at the fringes of people's consciousness, tickles them until they become more aware of it, and they see that there is something which just beckons them into this more powerful vibratory understanding and awareness of life.
Well, I invite you all to walk as the thriving genius universe, being imbued and gifted into everything everywhere. Become its enchanter, its enricher, its alchemizer, its masterful source creator and partner. And have a ball doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Okay. Walk well, genius universers.
That's it from us for now.
Have a great day.
Until the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.